invest in people in the long term, there has to be a mutual understanding
Hustle
and
hard,
mutual
hustle, hustle, hustle hard. Closed mouths don't get fed. Thinking strategically, but acting like a gorilla is the kind of marketing that's small for us. When it innovates very little, it's highly risk averse, and it indicates
So this is one of my favorite visuals because I can't emphasize just how much this is true. And for those of you that are on new teams or have been on new teams or have traversed through this idea of teams for a long time, teams go through these phases of group development. So a team forms and you come together and oh, everybody plays patty cake and has oh man, this is going to be so much fun. We're going to build this house or we're going to do this mission trip or we're going to, take this course together and we're going to build a business. Oh wow, yay, patty cake. And then all of a sudden something happens. You're like, wait a minute. Like, what was that? Why did you just say that? Or, why did you just gossip via text message that I can clearly see about me and the way in which I work? Or, how come you say you're going to come to the meeting and you don't come to the meeting? Like, I got a problem with that. And so this inevitably happens, this storming phase. And it's so very important that, and especially when I speak to young people, I think this class, the average age might be 30 because a lot of people have professional careers, but I can't emphasize this enough. Do not give up in the storming phase. The moment you hit some sort of friction, that doesn't mean it's time to quit the team. It doesn't mean it's time to give up. It doesn't mean the team is not going to perform well. It means you're going through the same phase that every other team goes through. It's called the storming phase. This is where you test each other out. I'll say from a, I know this might sound misogynistic in a way, but as a man, what happens when I perform in the gym? So I go and do CrossFit, and sometimes I work out with other CrossFitters. And I'm pretty competitive in what I do, and now I'm like with a new person, and so I'm sort of testing them. And I sort of pick on them a little bit. They pick on me a little bit. We sort of challenge each other, and then we figure out this thing that works. And sometimes if they pick on me a little bit and I respond in this like defensive way, they'll pack up a little bit. Okay, that was too far. I probably shouldn't have said that. And it goes back and forth. So we're feeling each other out to see how far we can push each other so that we can work together. And I don't know if that resonates with you. That was the best example I have is excuse my gym example, but this happens in teams too. You kind of test each other to see, can I be myself around this person? Do I have to put my, a little bit about myself? Do I have to ease into that before I become too assertive? Should I possibly be assertive more discerningly, like in a different kind of way? Or hey, maybe we're just jiving and we have great chemistry and you go through the storming phase at ease, like really easily. That's always nice, but that's not always the case. So getting through this storming phase is critical. And to be able to allow, and here's the team leaders out there, your teams are going to go through a storming phase. Allow it to happen. If it doesn't happen, you're never going to make it to the norming phase. If you don't allow that little bit of conflict and those interpersonal dynamics between those two people on your teams, they sort of happen naturally, organically, and you try to solve it for them, or you try to put them in, their separate corners and try to mediate a conversation between them. That works at times, but they can figure it out and they can go through that storming phase and get to that norming phase. And it's so important you go to storm because then you feel, okay, I know how to behave in front of this person. I know what to say. I know what not to say. I know how to act and all this kind of stuff. I'll give one last gym example just because I think it's relevant. So I told you I joined this gym and there was this one guy he was like testing me and it was kind of annoying. And one time he had finished doing his jump rope and when he finished before me. And so then he threw his jump rope at me, like in my direction. And this is after a couple other issues that I had. I was like, what is that? And then at this particular time, I picked up his jump rope and I walked over. I said, "Hey, listen, man, don't ever do that again. That was unnecessary. It was a little bit too much. Don't do it again." And of course, it took some boldness in me. But guess what? He never did it again. And he understood, like, okay, that's the boundary. I just crossed it. And the reality is, we've been great friends ever since. Like, there's been no issues since. And I give him hugs and daps every time I come in the gym. But we sort of needed to go through that. He needed to test me, and I needed to kind of test him back. So that's my last gym example. But now we made it. Not only are we at the norming phase, but we're at the performing phase. Because my goal as a leadership coach for you, or as a leadership teacher, as a leadership professor, is not to get you to the the proactive norming phase of leadership. I want to get you to proactive performing phase of leadership. I want you to perform well as a team leader. And so going from forming, storming, norming, and then getting to performing and allowing that time to progress is very, very, very important. So this is, as you can see, hopefully from that story, it's just a simple line going through a chart, but maybe you see this in some of the teams that you lead, and it happens often. And it happened in the 2004 team. It happened even in the Redeem team. They went through these phases. I would say that what happened with the 2004 team is they spent a little bit too much time here, and they may have finally gotten to this phase, and maybe they got up to here to norming, but they never truly, if they spent more time together, or if maybe the coach allowed this to happen a little bit more, and maybe the coach didn't try to manufacture this expeditious trip up this arc right here, if he didn't try to manufacture that and just sort of allowed it to happen, then maybe they would have gotten to the performing stage a little bit quicker, and it would have been more meaningful to them as a team. So it's a powerful visual. Hopefully, it makes sense to you. It's inspirational when you reflect on some of these leaders that one might consider to be heroes and think about their lives